stress and sort of ending up having to drink your evenings away because you can't sleep, you can actually talk about these things. There is support there, whether it's for a disability or because you've had to cover something particularly harrowing or political for you.
And what you're in specifically, Panorama, can be quite hard hitting. You can be saying really tough stuff.
Yeah.
How at the end of the day do you personally leave it at the door?
A lot of difficulty. A lot of autistic people are portrayed as very empathetic. I think I've overcompensated for that, and I find it really hard to detach myself. So I don't want to say very much, and it's quite difficult. I spoke to someone who, this was nothing to do with the story that I'm working on, but the reason they were in the situation they were in was because they had been abused as a child, and they'd been gaslit about this, and they weren't believed, and they were made to believe like they made it all up. And when they came in and they were explaining their history as to why they were in the situation, which is actually what the film was going to be about, they said that, I finally found out that my family admitted to me that they had done this to me, and they were like, it was a weight off my shoulders. And I've got a family member that had been through the same thing, and they never really talked about it beyond just saying that it happened and they hated their dad. And so, hearing someone say essentially what I would imagine my family member saying if they had love about it was really hard. And it was one of 3 people I was speaking to that day, and I had to take a break between. And I think leaving it at the door, it's 2 things. It's one, when you get home, it's not, so I've got a laptop now, working Panorama, it's making sure that doesn't come out unless I'm on Friday working from home, unless I'm within those hours, not checking my email on my phone, and then making sure that I am, if I need it, getting counselling. The BBC has loads of mental health first aiders that have all got light blue lanyards, you can't really miss them, going and seeking one of them out, even if they're not free at the time, because they are employees in their own right, they do other jobs. They will make time for you during the day, and seeking counselling, and then also having ways that you need to distract yourself from it, and not going home and watching episodes of Panorama. Not thinking about work.
And it's obviously tricky because everyone's in different situations, but the people sitting before us, probably I presume some of you want to go into media in some capacity. What should they be doing now while they're sick, other than sitting here listening to you, which is obviously a great first step?
Well, I don't know what you guys are studying and what you're going into, but I've always been pretty sound journalism since I was at college. But I think that it probably applies to anything within news and current affairs. It's doing as much beyond your degree. Now it's sort of being turned into a degree. Everyone's sort of doing it. It's like a cohort of 60 people from Bournemouth that have just graduated. It's a relatively small cohort compared to some of the other much bigger courses elsewhere. And so you're competing with a lot of people for not a lot of places, which is quite stressful. But you immediately have to think, well, if you're editing a section of the newspaper here, or if you're regularly writing for them, then you don't even have to. If you didn't get onto committee or didn't get an opportunity to help run a part of this media, then just contribute to it as much as you can. I definitely could have done better in my degree had I not put so much time and effort into Nerve, but I wouldn't have got my job without putting that time and effort in elsewhere. And quite frankly, if you're doing a media degree, the number doesn't matter that much that's next to it. I think I found 1 or 2 places at national newspapers, like the Telegraph, tend to ask for 2 ones, but a lot of the places just want you to have a relevant degree that you've graduated in. I think absolutely think about the student media and try to do as much diverse content as possible. And they talk a lot about underserved audiences at the BBC, and I imagine they're doing it at Channel 4 at the moment. So if you can tell stories about communities that you think that the BBC and Channel 4 don't reach very often, and then you can come and say, well, I've written all these stories about disabled people living in terrible accommodations, council design inaccessible council houses, or about how BA students at Bournemouth are being regularly racially abused, like those sorts of stories. And I know the people that made those stories at Nerve already had jobs lined up for after they graduated. Get your degrees, do your degrees, don't do what I did and have to write it in various extensions on the training, but do try and have as much as possible on top of that, because it is so valuable in an interview, because they will ask you for practical examples. If you say, well, I didn't use those as part of my course, anyone can say.
Sounds like the industry is getting better and people are becoming more accommodating. But what could they be doing to be even better and even more accommodating?
At this point, at least what I am, a lot of it's culture. So I'm not just so person. I was one of 6 people under 30 in Radio 4's current affairs team in London, and that's a team of, I guess, 50, maybe more. And there'll be a couple of times in meetings where people maybe say something, or they push content that they're like, this is for young people, and I was like, it's telling them how Tinder works, they know how Tinder works, like, they don't need to hear that, or they might be interested in a story about Tinder, that doesn't mean they need to hear how lives work. And I think it's the same disability when it comes to, so this isn't something that happens to me, but I've got someone who works in BBC Stories, and she wanted to put forward something about chronic illnesses. And someone who doesn't work anymore, so I feel confident in saying this, said, oh well, I don't really like having chronic illness case studies and things like that, because they can be a bit sad, a bit dreary, not very engaging, which was, I couldn't believe when they told me, especially because they had employees in the room with the same conditions that they were talking about. And BBC Stories is very case study focused, so you can absolutely make it interesting. And things like BBC Ouch, which is our sort of dedicated disability output, I just think has loads of potential. I think it's a lot of unrealised potential, and I'm sure that I'd like to hope that some of the other panels that have been here, if they haven't said it, have certainly known that there's a lot of just unrealised potential. And you go, oh my god, they could totally do a show about that. They've got the people ready, they've got the teams there, but there's just not, either they're missing the people in the room, they're not hiring the diverse people who can tell them to make these stories happen, or there isn't the will in the editors, and that is the thing where you do have a lot of older, generally straight, white, neurotypical, non-disabled people, and those people won't maybe realise the value in stories that actually do have a lot of value to the people that aren't them. Just trying to think, there's something else coming there, but I'm not sure.
We could open up the floor to questions
Yeah.
and then always it comes back. Vicky, would you like to start? Because so you can spring up first.
Yeah, I've got 2, if that's okay. My first one is, do you think that a media degree is essential to get there?
So, if you want to work in a national newspaper, I know that a lot of their entrance level stuff is grad schemes, but they and the broadcasters all offer schemes that are aimed at people that don't have degrees and don't have media degrees. I think if you're not going to get a media degree, and you are going to get some kind of degree, which sort of tends to be a bit of a blank spot, I think there are loads of people that have got really interesting degrees in things like classics that could make some amazing Radio 4 pieces, but don't have the relevant degree for grad schemes, but have a degree, so don't qualify for the sort of non-degree schemes. And I think you might consider doing a master's, or potentially trying to find and get some experience. So that's the other way you can get, is getting loads of experience, and a lot of that can be unpaid, which is a little bit unfortunate. And I know someone at the moment who's working a job that they don't really want to do in retail in Bristol, but that's because she knows exactly the job she wants to do, but she needs to do loads of unpaid experience at community stations in the area while she waits to have enough experience to get on the scheme. And when she gets that job, which I'm sure she will with the experience and the degree that she's got, it'll all be worth it. But I think there are things to weigh up if you're not going to get a degree that is that challenging. It doesn't make it harder if you have one to uni.
Yeah, I've got another one. It's a bit more personal to me question. It's what can I do and David as station managers and editor chiefs to make our societies more accessible?
I think it's a lot of things that don't occur to people, and I don't know what SU structures like here in terms of elected officers. The answer's not good. But if you're lucky enough to have disabled students officer that's pretty good, or at least someone who maybe isn't elected but is vocal on that particular issue, and the same applies to other groups, going, speaking to them, and maybe seeing if, I know one uni did it with LGBT students and accessing our club nights because our student bar had a few incidents. And if they're willing and students are willing to come along to some sort of panel where you can get a few different, because I can't necessarily, I can think of some ways you can make sort of things accessible to visually impaired people. It's going to be much better coming from them because they'll be able to do it much better. They can be things like if you, so Nella held like a welcome event, PowerPoint, white text on pink background, which is for some reason become our colour as this sort of hot pink. I'm not really sure where it came from, it's purple for years. But totally inaccessible to anyone visually impaired that came along. And I think in the end we had to run, basically had to sit down with someone and go through it on black and white paper so they can actually read it. And so it's just little things like that that just make a world of difference. And I think once someone's in, if there is a culture, even if it's just having a poster up in your studio or you've got editing rooms, or I think you have much better facilities than us, just saying like, do you need adjustments, or if you need to talk, or if something's not working for you. Like having that culture is really, really important. We didn't have it in the last year. There was some quite toxic culture which we hadn't had before, and it did make it really, really hard for people to come forward when there were issues. I gather it's changed now, so yeah.
Have you always been at the point where you find it easy to talk to your employer, and when do you do it in terms of like in pre-employment, interviewing? Because I'm dyslexic dyspraxic, and I do this thing where sometimes I tell people and sometimes I don't. I'm in a job at the moment and they now sort of know, but I've been in there a couple of weeks. I was going to tell them at interview, I didn't. I was going to tell them on my first day, I didn't. And then it got to a point where they asked me to read and scribe a GCSE exam. And about 10 minutes before I went in, I just went over and I was like, I can't read or write. No, I mean it. I can't read or write. And they were like, you're kidding. I was like, no, I can't read or write. I have to tell you now, sorry. And they were like, ugh.
Yeah.
They were actually really mad with me, and it was kind of my fault. Because I should have mentioned I can't read or write.
But I
it's
like it.
dramatic.
It can be really hard to tell people that, because I don't know what your experience is, but my experience has been with a lot of the time I tell people, and the experience has been like either sort of, oh God, what we've got to do now, or are you sure you can even do this job? The answer is always
that's the second one. Can you do this?
Yeah.
What do you mean? You're teaching the children. What are you doing? Yeah.
And I think that sort of cheating by being on a disability scheme, because it seemed obvious to me that when I was filling in sort of the diversity sort of checklist that you have to do for every job you go for, it seemed obvious to me that I should fill it out, and I was sort of an email going, what adjustments should we be making? And then when I got the contract about 2 months before I started, I sat down with BBC and some contract with some sort of HR group that basically do all their workplace assessments, so that's whether that's sort of how you're sitting at a computer and how I'm assigning things for all employees down to people like me, what adjustments I need. And I mean, she was like, I don't know if you had a DSA assessment where they sort of just throw something at you that you don't really need. It was sort of
I've
like
got
that.
blocks.
Yeah. I have so much useless software that doesn't even boot up anymore on my laptop. And it was a bit like that in the sense that they just sort of throw stuff at me. So I think it's definitely worth saying before, because I've been in that situation in this job. I haven't told people that I'm struggling with something, and then they've been really annoyed when I told them 3 weeks later. That's why I haven't been doing my job properly. And I think that as annoying as hard as it is, that conversation has to keep happening, because whilst the guy that runs my scheme and the woman from HR and the manager in my department knew, my editor on my program didn't know, none of the team on the program knew. So it's just about, I had the option of sending an email around to the whole department, thought it would be a bit beggy, so I just sort of told people as and when it came up. And sometimes with the guy that didn't get the handwriting thing, you have to be a bit pushy, but generally it's just about going to the person that you're most likely to be told what to do by, hey, I need instructions, but really clearly. And then saying to people around you, hey, I might be rude, please just tell me if my tone of voice comes across like I'm being really rude. It's definitely worth telling people. In some worse jobs, like when I worked at the call centre, it's just not worth that hassle that it then creates, because it then sort of marks you out. But if you're going for something like a grad job, if you're becoming a professional, if you're starting a career, then absolutely tell people whatever adjustments you need, whether you've got a piece of paper from the NHS that diagnoses you, or whether you just know that you are affected in some way and you need some adjustments. They're not going to question you if they do it's illegal. So.
Just on that, if you feel like people are being discriminatory, what should people do?
Well, I was lucky enough to sit really near HR. and yeah, absolutely. So in my situation, the head of the scheme is definitely the person to go to. If you aren't on a scheme, then it's definitely your HR people, which if you're working somewhere that is working properly, there should be some sort of email on your staff portal. There is a whole thing of HR resources at the BBC that you can go to. And you should absolutely always report it if you aren't sure, and don't doubt yourself in any way. So I used the disabled loos on occasion, so I've got IBD. So if I go into the Gentleys, which have 3 cubicles for a floor of 400, if I go in there and they're all full, it's not safe for my health for me to wait. And so I'll go in there, and I had someone who sits near there repeatedly sort of look at me and then eventually made a comment. And I am at a stage where it doesn't bother me that much. I've not sort of been ground down, I think because I've been sort of invisible for most of my life until I started using these. And I sort of was just like, look, I'm not going to have an issue. If you do that to anybody else disabled on this floor, you're going to have such a problem with HR. I was like, it's not worth your time. Like, I've never seen anyone waiting outside the disabled loos. There are quite a lot of people on my floor who need to use those facilities, but not enough that it's ever like a key. So I think absolutely it's definitely worth bringing it up. And if you feel confident, bring it up to them and say, hey, look, some of the stuff you've been saying or doing or the way you've been treating me right towards me, this is how I feel about it, and I just really appreciate it if you stopped or said something different. But if you don't, then go to HR, they'll set up mediation, which is essentially the same thing, but it's a lot safer if you only go to them if you're confident that they aren't going to make it worse.
Does someone else have a question?
My question was also how comfortable are you disclosing, like, in applications to jobs? I've never written anything in applications or anything.
Yeah. So on top of that, something I should sort of make really clear is one, the diversity forms and the adjustment interview forms, whoever's interviewing them legally shouldn't be seeing them. So if you sit down in an interview and they say anything to you that's not immediately obvious, so if I sat down in an interview and said, oh, I noticed your bar, I know a good gay bar in the corner, they shouldn't know that. They shouldn't know any of that information. All they should know is the adjustments required. They shouldn't even know necessarily what conditions there are. In my case, they sort of knew everyone coming in and having some sort of adjustment, and BBC boards were a little bit terrifying. They were less so online in the sense that they only had the interview portion. You didn't have to do sort of the group exercises, because when you've got a group of people with very different needs, it's just hard to make one exercise for 6 people accessible to all of them. But yeah, any interview or anything like that, no one should know outside of what you need in terms of adjustments, anything like that. So absolutely disclose and tell everyone that you work with if you think that they're going to be good about it, which they should be. I mean, BBC, they can use this in the video, but the BBC is very much like a university campus in the sense that it's a huge mix of
Can I just
people.
check we're not live streaming this, are we? Okay, fine, I just didn't need it.
This is probably going to be fine, but in
No, it's fine, I just-
the way all the Twitter storms that I've been seeing, I just want to make sure. But it's like a university campus, and from the outside, or when you walk in and you talk to people, you go, this is like just wishy-washy liberals, like, and they're absolutely not. It's a huge range of like politics in there. None of them brings their jobs, contrary to some people's belief. Like, I absolutely know the voting intentions of some of my colleagues, but I've seen them put out stuff where they're dealing with people, elected officials from these parties, and they've dealt with them professionally and impartially. But it comes across like a university, and the culture in there is like that. So there are definitely people in there that I go, you're definitely of a generation that has certain views on certain things, but they know that the work culture there is not where they can be like they can be at home. So even if you get an editor in, you just go, oh, you're like a bit Godfrey Bloom, and a bit, you're like, I wouldn't really necessarily come out to you if you were my dad. If they're at work, say what you want to them is that they know that is not the place that they know what views are and aren't acceptable. And in a place where they've got strict editorial policies, it's sort of like if they wouldn't say it on air, they probably won't say it to you at work, other than swearing, quite a lot of that. It's quite a lot of swearing. That's probably the only similarity with like journalists, films and CVs. I'm sure a lot of people in placements is just the swearing.
Anyone else add?
I guess just like, how do you think student media, given that we are, especially like between us three, like we're quite big platforms, basically cover disability issues on campus better, and to support the issues that disabled students face?
It's pretty hard because I think my go-to, and a lot of other sort of researchers go to, is okay, well we're doing something about this particular issue. Let's find the nearest interest group. And on universities, those don't always exist. I think the best thing that you could do, and I say this to editors of the BBC as well, about young people about disability, is just talk to people that are involved in the story. At least say if, I'm trying to give a good example, some stats have come out about hate crime towards disabled students, your piece will be 1,000 times better than a case study. It will be much more easy to read, and also you're not at risk of using language or writing the story in a way that is either inaccessible or offensive to the people that are involved. And plus, it's just, it's way more interesting. Like, I've worked on Moneybox for ages. It's had a huge push for getting more young people, more women involved in the stories that we tell. It's not pensions and investments anymore. You should absolutely listen to it. We actually do stories that are relevant to people under 45. It's brilliant. And it is that same issue of, okay, well, we can tell a story about how those people are overpaying their student finance repayments every year, but if we don't have someone who goes, I could have £3,000 extra towards a house deposit, people just go, no, it's a few quid towards those privileged young people that just want everything. Like, you need to have that. One, because, for example, not very few people on this campus will be disabled, and so the people that aren't disabled reading that story without a human there aren't going to be able to relate to it. There needs to be someone that sort of grounds it and makes people realise, okay, this isn't just a number, there are people behind this. And that's the same with anything, I think. Whether you're doing a story if I did a story about young, white, bisexual, disabled people, I'd still want a case that even if I was producing the whole thing myself, because other people that aren't me aren't going to get it. That's the thing you guys can do.
Yeah. So I read this morning actually that in the case of journalism, at least 2/3 of all journalism jobs in the UK are in London and the South East, compared to maybe 29%, I think, of jobs in general. As people potentially wanting to go work in media, should we see London as an inevitability? Should we see London as where we gotta be?
Absolutely not. So I would be in Salford right now if I wasn't terrified of what my girlfriend would do. So I am from Brighton, and then I went to uni in Bournemouth, so I sort of stayed along the south coast pretty much my entire life. So London was the closest option. So all the BBC schemes and things like that should give you an option of where you would like to go. It's not guaranteed, but usually those options are London, Salford, Cardiff, Belfast, in Glasgow and Edinburgh, one or the other. I can never remember where the Scotland base is. But, I mean, it's actually an amazing job in Salford that I want that starts just when my contract here finishes. I really would go for it, unfortunately. But absolutely don't be sort of tied to the idea of London. It is like an amazing place to be as a young person out of uni. There is loads to do there, but there's sort of loads to do pretty much everywhere, except for Belfast. My family's from there, there's nothing to do. But it does have the biggest paranormal team. They did just do the interview with Gene Roberts, and they're going to do more on next time at some point, I'm sure. And yeah, the opportunities are everywhere. And I recently went up to Salford because the BBC has a committee called the Next Generation Committee that's full of young people. And I went along to their sort of interview day, which is sort of a massive group of you that split into teams and have students exercises. And one, you go there and go, oh my god, I'm like the least talented young person in the room. Like, there's so many amazing people that have done amazing things. And two, you get to Salford, having been in the BBC London office, I think when they built Salford, they left all of the old BBC behind, and the freedom sort of in the air up there to sort of do what you want and produce what you want. So I have a friend that works for Radio 5 up there, which is a bit loose than Radio 4 already. He works on a business programme like I did, and he's produced something about the business in esports, which is a story that I basically pitched and got told no down in London, almost sort of a similar programme. And so it is like, if you can, obviously probably the nearest is Salford from here, isn't it? Which is terrible. But if you can get a chance to work up there and do places that absolutely do, don't think that you're missing out by being there instead of London. It's amazing there. Whilst I haven't been to the other sort of regional bases, they are probably absolutely as amazing as anywhere else. London is just where I think the most jobs are. If you want to work in sport journalism, you have to be in Salford. You can't. There are no real sport journalism jobs in London anymore. They're all, at least in the BBC, they're all in Salford. And like all the kids' TVs up there now. Newsround is up there if you want to go into that. Hopefully they'll bring back the after school bulletins at some point. They still do all the online stuff. Radio 5 is up there, which is like Radio 4 current affairs, but more fun in a sense, and a little bit less serious. And yeah, there's all sorts up there. So yeah, don't feel like London is somewhere that you're going to have to move. Mainly because it's very expensive. BBC does pay probably one of the best wages you'll get as a graduate, but I still cannot pay off any of my student overdraft every month. So yeah, don't feel like because there was a job in anywhere outside of London, like taking it's going to tie you there forever. My plan is to probably move away from national and go local eventually when I'm old, if I'm lucky.
Thank you. Speaking of London, I don't want you to miss your train. Does anyone know what the time is?
It's 10 past.
Okay.
I'm good. I've got a bit of time.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Any more questions? Let me squeeze a lot out of you. Thank you.
That's it, mate. Thanks for having me. I think it's great that you guys are doing this. It's kind of thing that I wish that we would have done before. And yeah, I was really thrilled when I heard about it. And yeah, thank you for going all along. And I'm really gutted that I couldn't make up early and catch all the panels because the end for the I watched that. Brilliant.
And listen and read them.
Yeah, I watched the panels.
But thank you for coming down. If you hadn't, you are on the panel.
Yes. No, thank you for having me. Thank you for disability. And go on and do amazing stuff. And I'll probably see you all at work.
If people want to bother you,
Oh yeah. My surname is really annoyingly long. So if I just say my email, you're not going to be able to get it down. Is there a way I can send it to someone?
Of course.
Share it? Absolutely. Yeah. Get in touch when you've got a story you want to pitch and get involved in the production of it, or whether you just got some questions or anything like that, or you want to put in touch with someone. I'm always happy. Yeah. Always happy to see you.